Hello everyone, my name is Hizwan and today we'll be discussing the history of World War One. And this will be a short video that is one of my first videos for the channel, so I will start with the humble beginnings and sooner or later and everything will be alright and the quality will be very alright, so let's get started. So people says that World War One was the cause of many million men died and a lot of empires as well, but people said that Germany was the reason that people go to war, but actually the reason is much deeper, and that is what we're going to be discussing today. As we say in the history books, they said that the young Bosnians killed Archduke Franz Ferdinand in Sarajevo in 1914, and that sparked that Austro-Hungary declares war with Serbia and Russia declares war to Serbia. And with German, that time was the German Empire, so the Kaiser Wilhelm II, with the act of allies with Austro-Hungary, and they support the act of war to Serbia, and they joined the war and against Serbia and Russia, and France declared war to German Empire and Austro-Hungary Empire due to their ally with Russia, and the war begins there. And where does United Kingdom and the Ottoman Empire, the two major lions in the 18th century and the 17th century and a lot of century in the past, and due to German advances to invade France, and they used the route to Belgium to invade from Belgium, and that is part where United Kingdom felt like it's too over for Germany and they declared war on Germany. So the years pass and years of war, and they're fighting and the Russians has a lot of conflict within their government, within their king, within everyone in that government, and they were having major troubles and major problems, and that is how the Ottoman Empire comes to the story. And the Ottoman Empire is now becoming very weak after the dethrone of Sultan Abdulhamid II and rise another sultan named Mehmed V. And Mehmed V and a lot of their pashas, and one of the pashas that become the war that became very famous is one of its Enver Pasha. So that's it. So the Ottomans thought they were ready to war, and they were ready to war, but there's one thing that happens during the war: the Arab Revolt. So that was the British and the French. No. But they were wrong, and they attacked Gallipoli. And there were the Aussie heroes, the New Zealand heroes, lost their lives, and with a very strong Ottoman right arm punching through the armies and kicked them off of the beach. And there it goes. And the British thought they were failing to destroy this empire. It was a very vast empire, but at Arabia they became very decisive. So the British were very wins by wins, and taking the land of all the Arabs, and make the Ottoman lose the power in Arabia. And now we are going to go back to Europe. And in Europe, everything seems to be stalemate until 1917, where the British innovate the tank, and the tank become one of the trench monsters and destroy every single piece of German lines, and become very, very bloodless, and more and more people die, and the Germans, they decide to create their own tank, their own armored vehicles, and they go to war, and which conclude a lot of death, not just the soldiers, but citizens, the houses, and the bombardments of the artilleries, and that is all going to happen and destroy every city that is in Europe. So it's very concerning the Kaiser, concerning the French, again concerning the British, concerning the Russians, concerning the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and a lot of states that joined the war. But things will come a very turn when a leaked telegraph from the German Empire that they are going to attack the United States, and where the United States declared war on German Empire, Austro-Hungarian Empire, and the Ottoman Empire. Those three. The Ottoman Empire becomes so weak when the U.S. touch Europe. Is not what I meant is the U.S. defeat the Ottoman Empire, but what the condition of the Ottoman Empire during the time 1918, when the war beginning to fail in both sides, and they conclude the end of the war. They wanted to end the war in 1918, and the Treaty of Versailles has been signed, and which conclude a lot of war reparations for the German Empire, and the dissolution of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. So back in the Ottoman lost a lot of lands, a lot to give to the Greeks, and a lot given to the French, a lot given to the British, and they divided the land of the Turkish lands, the Anatolian lands, and they become very divided. And that is almost the end of the Ottoman Empire. So the British planned to end this mighty empire that was ruled the lands of Persia, the lands of Iraq, the lands of Arabia, the lands of Africa, now beginning to collapse. I mean, it's total collapse. So yeah, this video is going to be very short, so I'm not going to make the video very long. So this is my first time recording for the YouTube channel that I'm about to create. So yeah, goodbye.